Here we are. Here we are. Happy Monday, Andrew. How are
I
you,
knew I
buddy?
was ready. I just clicked the button.
My goodness. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. And to be honest, I'm looking behind me and looking at this jersey behind me, Jim, and thinking, oh, geez, aren't they performing badly?
It's a little bit of a concern. We won't go there. We're going to say that the Melbourne Victory are in the rebuilding stage, and my other team, Andrew, Carlton Football Club, um, the last 2 weeks haven't produced results for them. But thankfully, real estate is performing differently. So, whilst I can't say that I've been pleased with the results of both my teams, Melbourne Victory and the Carlton Football Club, I can certainly say that the real estate market has been performing a little bit better. And apologies, firstly, to people that look forward to our updates. That the previous Saturday we were absolutely chaotic, and with nine out of nine auctions sold. And then again on Saturday we were flat out with 10 from 12. Well, it's actually 11 from 12 now that have been put away, and we'll talk about that. But it meant that other than our real estate life, we've also got family lives. So
Mhm.
unfortunately, we just didn't have the time on a Saturday afternoon or on the Sundays to provide an update. So here we are, Andrew, to talk about the last two Saturdays and give
Yeah,
you
it's
an
been a
update.
crazy fortnight, hasn't it, Jim? It's
Yeah, it's been
been
wonderful.
insanely busy for our office,
Yep.
and we're talking about it. Over the weekend, we're going to some of these results, and we'll touch on a bit later on with some obviously vendors that are coming onto the market in this current climate. So we'll touch on that a bit later on. But last Saturday and the Saturday before that, we had a really good run of auctions. We pretty much sold everything apart from one property, which you just touched on now. 11 out of 12 auctions on Saturday. The week before though was extremely busy, and a really great Saturday for our team as well. So we'll touch on some of those results.
Sure.
We had a beautiful double-story home in Tasman Crescent in Tallers Lakes. They purchased a home off me just before Christmas, a beautiful property out in Hillside, and they updated this property over Christmas break, because they wanted my opinion as well in regards to what should they do. Should they leave it the way it is, or should they update it? And my opinion was to update it, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously it needed some work and whatnot, but I definitely thought it was a really good home, good floor plan that a lot of young buyers would love that update look. So
Yeah.
we sold that property. We had a great turnout. I think there was over 150 people there, and sold for $1,020,000, which was a really strong result for Tallers Lakes. Then the gents at St Albans had a great result in Kialba. Number 7 Leavesden Avenue, that sold for $680,000. So another strong result for Kialba as well.
Yep.
A little hidden pocket of 3021, right? So and then we had a one-bedroom apartment on Goulet Road.
Yep. Yep.
You guys, Tony looked after that sale. 1/3 Goulet Road, Hillside, selling for $315,000.
Mm.
Then Lass had an incredible result, an unrenovated brick property, elevated. The property was not going anywhere. It was built to last, but that had really strong competition. Unrenovated home, 4 bedrooms, selling for $952,000. So a great result there for Lass. And then we had a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom single car garage in Hillside. We had probably about maybe 8 or 9 bidders on that property there, and pushed it to $602,000. And that was on a block of land, less than 400 square meters of land as well, which was, again, a great result.
Yeah, which was some good results. And that one that you were talking about of Lasset, that was in Queen Victoria Crescent, Andrew, number 8. And it was quite funny. I went to that auction, and Lass was calling the auction. And we had a couple of challenges there, because we had some vendors that are going through some health challenges. And, during the auction, we actually had to pause to explain the situation and where it was at. But anyway, great result. And, my favourite part of Taylor's Lakes, Panamuna Avenue, Queen Vic, Prince Albert, Constellation Court, love that pocket. On top of that, the St Albans boys also sold one in Main Road West, Andrew, 464A, sold for 785,000. Another one in Kings Park at 519,000. Another one in Kings Park at Tullis Court that sold for 640. So that ended up being a really, really strong day. And then we came into last week, knowing, Andrew, that we had a busy week planned. We had 12 auctions scheduled, and that included 3 midweek. And we actually only had 2 midweek. And then what happened was one of the properties, which was a standout property in Hillside 2000, owned by the most beautiful family, clients of ours for many, many years, fortunate enough to have sold them this property back in 2007. And back then, it was the most expensive sale that had happened in the Hillside 2000 estate. It was, in actual fact, the first property to crack $1 million back then in 2007. But they have done a wonderful job establishing it. We had that property scheduled for sale by set date. And then we decided on Wednesday morning, because of the level of interest and the feedback that we had from the buyers, that we would auction it at 7:30 p.m. on the Thursday night. And I've got to say, Andrew, I'll let you talk about the sale, but I've got to tell you, mate, you know, we got there at 7 o'clock, and we auctioned the property, we sold it, and I jumped in my car at, I think, 11:15, and didn't get home till well after 11 p.m. And it reminded me of real estate back in 1988 and 1990 and 92, when we would work till midnight. Technology now has made it easier for us not to. But wonderful celebrating and spending time with the vendors, Jim and Sandra and their family, and the fantastic buyer, John. What a lovely man, and his brother-in-law that were there as well. And we all just sat back and had a couple of drinks and a little bit of pizza, and enjoyed chewing the fat. So, Andrew, you can talk about those results, which was on Thursday night, and tell us what happened.
Mate, you said it. We had that auction scheduled, so sell by set date scheduled, and we transformed into an auction on Wednesday. And we did it purely and simply just based on level of interest, as you said. And it was a property that I was, really excited about having the opportunity to represent our vendors, as you mentioned, to Jim and Sandra. We got there, and there was, obviously 8 registered bidders.
Private auction too, right?
Yeah, private auction. So only buyers that were registered could attend the actual property itself. So it was behind closed doors. We called in the backyard, and what a backyard to call it in, right? So, just an amazing property, right?
Yeah.
And an opening bid of 1.5. And look, majority of the buyers that were registered bid, they all had a fair crack. Yeah, exactly. And end up selling for a record-breaking $1,866,000. So no wonder we stayed down till almost midnight, right? So
I could have stayed the night.
Yeah, look, well deserved. A property that is, yes, it set a new benchmark, but it deserved to, right? It was just a cracker home. Yeah. And obviously to the vendor's credit, but also John, he fought for it, right? He didn't want to let it go. Yeah. Obviously a few buyers there that missed out, which naturally happens. But an absolute cracker auction. And Jim, I think you grew a few feet during that auction. So
Andrew, it doesn't take much for me to grow a little bit taller. And but I've got to tell you, it was, we do auctions every day or every week, and every now and then there's one that just really, really you look forward to. And I've called over 5,000 auctions in my time, but that one was special. I really, really was looking forward to it, and we knew we had the interest, obviously, but we just wanted it to perform well, because, as you said, it deserved to. And for the vendors, they did everything right. They listened to us. They trusted our strategy. They trusted our process. They worked with us hand in hand, did everything that they had to do to prepare the home and make it look its absolute best. Maintained it, did everything right, and of course it delivered an exceptional result. And I've got to tell you, I just, whenever we do an auction, Andrew, we always review them. We videotape, live stream all of our auctions, and you and I and Lass and the other people that call auctions in the office, I've got a bad habit of expecting perfection when it comes to auctioning, because you get one chance to do it right, and we always sit back and review. And I've got to say, thankfully, that was the one that when we watched it all back, in my mind, we couldn't do anything any better, and it just worked beautifully. So congratulations to everyone that was involved with that.
Yeah, you're spot on, Jim. Look, I was quite nervous as well because you just don't know what to expect. At that level, we haven't sold a property at that level at auction in a little while. We've sold some homes obviously over that level, but at auction, it was something that was untested in our era and within our team. So yeah, you do get a bit nervous, but as you mentioned, the vendors just listened, right? They listened to everything. So hats off to them. And then we also had the same night at 6 o'clock, I was out calling an auction in Hillside at 8 Park Road. That property there, an unrenovated double-story home, 4 bedrooms, really, really good crowd again. Healthy competition, sold for $757,000. And then we head into Saturday.
Yeah. Well, we also had Stoneman Turn.
Yep, correct.
That night as well. But
that was on Thursday night. There you go.
Yeah, and
Lass had that.
And but he actually sold that the next morning.
Yeah,
right? That was one that was
5,000, I believe. Correct.
Yeah, it was passed in, and then on Thursday night, and by 10 a.m. Friday it was sold. So great result. And
good job, Lass.
Then what happened Saturday, Andrew?
Saturday, Jim, was a very busy day. I had 5 auctions personally, or 4 auctions, shall I say. It's actually 5. Actually, I had Water Valley Drive as well. I'm just looking at my notes. But Jim, all 5 sold for myself, and as you said, 11 out of 12 for the team. We started off at in Kill Downs, at 6 Mathis Avenue. Again, an unrenovated 3-bedroom property in Kill Downs, 690 square meters of land, selling for $755,000. Kill Downs has just blown me away, to be honest. It's been probably a suburb. Look, Taylor's Lakes has been doing well for the last few years, but Kill Downs has been quite quiet. And I suppose even this year we had one in Unique Drive, that 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom that we spoke about. And as every vendor does, they look at their home and say, geez, ours got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, although this is unrenovated, right? The other property was renovated. Yeah. Still a great turnout, 755 there. Then I went to a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom home in Delahaye. What a crowd, right? For a 2-bedroom, though. That's the thing.
It was a 2-bedroom villa unit, right?
Yeah, correct.
But presented beautifully.
Vendors done a great job updating that home as well, and that sold for $560,000, which I think the last 2-bedroom there sold for about $440,000, $450,000 thereabouts. Obviously a strong result there. And then we had a auction in Pineley Way in Hillside. Again, healthy competition. Yeah, a gorgeous home, 4 years old, triple garage. The vendors built that property there, and that had strong competition as well, and sold for $853,500.
Yep.
Which again, a strong result out there in Hillside.
Yeah, no, that was good. And then we also had Wattle Valley Drive, Andrew, 104 Wattle Valley Drive, which you called single level home, beautiful home, but did really, really well. Got $752,000, which was an outstanding result, right?
That was actually a funny auction, Jim.
And that was indoors, right? That was indoors.
Yeah. Well, I walked outside. I'm looking at the skies, and I said to everyone, "I think we're going to be fine." And then as the auction started, just drizzling a little bit, and I was thinking, "No, it's going to be okay."
Yeah.
Then 10 seconds later, it just bucketed down. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's not going to be okay. I think let's go inside." So, so we brought that auction inside and sold it indoors, which is good.
Yeah, which was a great result. And then I called for you 36 Langmore Drive.
Yep.
Just around the corner, from Wattle Valley, not far. Matter of fact, one of the people that was bidding at Wattle Valley came along and ultimately ended up buying the property in Langmore Drive, and that sold well. That was actually passed in at $710,000, then negotiated and sold at $725,000, which was a good outcome. And then Lass also had one at number 10 Holcombe Street in Caroline Springs, which we passed in on Saturday. But by this morning it was sold at $660,000. Great result. And then we had a couple of sold befores, Andrew, one in Roper Court, Taylor's Lakes, that your team negotiated and sold at $745,000, and another one that we had in Caroline Springs, unit 1 of 3 in Springlands, that sold beforehand for $610,000. So overall, it gave us a strong result. And then I've got to tell you that Saturday night, Normally at around 6 o'clock, the REIV send their results through. Saturday, just for people to take it in context, Saturday was a super Saturday of auctions. Now, you hear different numbers. Apparently, there were over 2,000 or just on 2,000 auctions across Victoria. Then we hear other ones saying that there was 1,500 and that there was 1,200. The official number, we believe, was that there were 2,000 auctions scheduled for the week. Now, when we look at that, and you've got agents and everyone else saying that we've had a shortage of stock, all of a sudden you see that and you think it's a bumper Saturday. In actual fact, it was the biggest Saturday since 2018 of auctions. So here's some stats. The reason for that is because this week is Easter. There are only 25 auctions across all of Victoria, and I would suggest that most of them are regional and perhaps on the peninsulas that are happening. So it was 2 weeks of work in one weekend. Now, we look at the month overall, and today's the 29th, so there are a couple of days to go in the month. I'm really pleased to say that on Saturday afternoon, when I was looking at all the numbers coming through, and I got to see the results that came through from the Barry Plant Group, and I got those through at around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And the industry tends to look at our brand as a bit of a barometer because we've got a spread of offices right across Melbourne. So our numbers came in at a staggering number, 118 properties sold out of 133 auctions that were scheduled for the Barry Plant Group. Biggest single day that we've had as a group for a clearance rate of 89% preliminary. Now, those 118, from what I know now, it's 119 because we sold Holcomb, and I'm sure some others have sold. So I would suspect that by tonight, there would have been a few more sales negotiated with past-in properties. So we're probably sitting in the 90s for a clearance rate from the weekend. And just some really quick numbers, you know, our inner city group sold 6 out of 6. Our group, our northern group, Bundoora, Mill Park, Greensboro, 17 out of 17 on Saturday. Our Manningham group that covers basically from Eltham through to Doncaster, out through to Blackburn, 24 auctions scheduled, 24 auctions sold. So, you know, we saw some strong numbers, but it's not just us, it's everyone. Let's get real, right? You know, we're all sitting there blowing our trumpet. The reality of it is this, that when the market is strong, it is strong for everybody. Where we like to think that we can make a difference and add value to our clients is in the strategies that we come up with and the process that we follow to deliver exceptional outcomes, not just sales. But I think it's very, very important that people realise that, you know, as recently as 8 or 9 months ago, this time last year, I was interviewed on 3AW and debating with one of the economists from the Commonwealth Bank why I thought that he was wrong when he said that values are going to drop 30%. So, you know, a lot can change, and the press and the media can send out different messages. This morning, driving into work, listening to 3AW, Neil Mitchell was talking to a lot of people talking about underquoting, you know, and, you know, properties are selling for way over agents' estimates. And is it underquoting? Is it strength of the market? The reality is that as agents, we have an obligation to do our homework, do the absolute best we can to set what we believe is an honest appraisal of the property. And whatever we say to a vendor, we have to say to the market on our statement of information. So if there are comparable sales available, we use them. If they're not, we have to be able to demonstrate how we arrived at that opinion. Now, what none of us can allow for is the strength in the market. But as we can see, there are properties that get passed in. Not everything flies. Not every single one is going to sell for way over. Now, it's also fair to say that in our corridors, we don't, you know, whilst we might see some results that get better than what we all expect, that's the strength in the market and the lack of supply that causes that. But more often than not, they're selling where we believe they're going to sell. Certainly, you know, the upper end in most cases, but they're selling where we believe they're going to sell. The important thing, I think, that people need to consider is, whilst we've seen some really strong results, and I started off before to say that I'm pleased to report that March 2021 looks like it'll end up being probably the strongest month that we've seen for a long, long time along the Western Group, both in volume and in number of sales, volume of sales, and of course the prices or the average sale price achieved, because there's been some really good properties sold. Obviously, the standout was Castlewellan Boulevard at 1,866,000. We also sold another property off market in Taylor's Lakes, which we can't disclose at this point, but it sold for 1,850. We don't mind sharing that result, which is also the highest price achieved in Taylor's Lakes, certainly that we know of in the last 12, 15 months. So some really good results happening, but across the board, there is a science involved where we have to really do some homework and pitch properties. And I think vendors, Andrew, need to think long and hard when I'm selling my house, and my house is exactly the same as the one 3 doors down, and the one 3 doors down comes on the market, and everybody thinks that it's worth, pick a number, 800, and it ends up selling at 950 because of the demand and all the rest of it. And the reasons being, COVID has caused people to want to update, they want a bigger home, they want to work from home, whatever the reason may be. We don't know. Maybe the guy that bought it, maybe his sister lives next door or his mum and dad. So to him, it's worth more. But then does that make my house worth that money? Not necessarily, because it might not get the same competition. What are your thoughts, Andrew?
Jim, I'm listening to you as well, as much as everyone else is. And I think we couldn't agree more. And obviously, you're very experienced what you do. We're dealing with vendors on a daily basis, and I get calls, nearly every Saturday from vendors that are thinking of selling because of these results, right?
Yeah.
So it makes my job a lot harder as well when you're trying to speak to potential vendors and get them to educate themselves reasons why their home might not, go the same way as a home that sold on Saturday.
Yeah.
What we have to do is exactly what you said before, put a strategy behind what we do for the vendor and say, listen, this is what we did for the other vendor. Now, we have to follow the same process or a similar process. Again, every home is different. They all have different aspects of the property, whether it's a 4-bedroom or 3-bedroom, might be 900 square meters or might be 800 square meters, depends on what the property is. So we have to really digest that and sit down with the vendor and say, well, listen, if it's going to go, it's going to go, but let's put a plan together to make sure that we obviously have the right buyers that come through our property. And if it's going to sell for, if the vendor wanted 800, it sells for 850, fantastic. Although, as you said before, you don't want to also mislead the buyers as well. Buyers are getting sick of it. We get that. So we're trying to do the right thing by the buyers out in the marketplace to adjust what we believe the home is. So we're learning as we go, but it's very important, as you touched on, as a vendor, not to try and get too ahead of yourself as well from a price point of view, because every home does react differently. As you touched on, properties are still getting passed in. Yes, we're selling them, negotiating after the auction, though we can't expect every home just to sell because of the marketplace. You still have to concentrate on marketing the property properly. Where got your videos, we've touched on this before, like great photography and all that kind of stuff as well, great social media marketing, but also pricing is what attracts buyers. And if we believe and quote it the same way as other homes, expected to go the same way, it may not. It just may not. And you touched on one before. I've touched on before about the next door neighbour. I had a property in Hillside that pretty much the next door neighbour bought the property, right? So it does happen. It does happen. Yeah. So I think it just comes down to the vendor sitting down with us. We'll give them our advice in regards to what we believe, and if it goes over and above, then that's great for them. But we still have to be mindful that there is a strategy behind it, right? There's a science behind it. You can't just go pick an agent now that's going to charge you half what we're going to charge you, for example, and expect the same results, because that's not going to happen, right? Yeah. We do believe in what we deliver, and at the end of the day, we're trying to be as honest as possible with our advice. And we have to still work hard. We still have to work hard. Simple as that.
Yeah, and we've got to take the feedback on board, and we're the conduit. We're the conduit, and we need to take the feedback on board. We have to analyse the feedback and provide advice accordingly. So, look, reality of it is that we always talk about the good sales, and we always talk about the great results. The one thing that time has taught me is that the market conditions change. They never stay the same. Whilst at the moment, for many, many variables and many reasons, we're seeing strong demand and we're seeing a very competitive environment in the real world. And we talk, today we've been talking about our auctions. There are a stack of private sales that have also been occurring where people have the opportunity to make an offer and negotiate and secure a property. And our job is to guide them through the process. Whilst we're seeing a climate where sales appear to be happening easier, I can tell you categorically that there's a lot more work happening because we're dealing with a lot more buyers. Where we would normally run a campaign for 4 weeks and see 30 to 40 groups, we're now seeing over 100 groups coming through. And every one of those people needs to be spoken to and analysed, and we need to make a value judgment as to whether they're going to be interested in the property. So there's a lot more touch time. There's a lot more work that we're doing, and that's fine. That's what we're paid to do. That's what we're commissioned to do, and that's what we will continue to do. But as Andrew rightly pointed out, we do have to look at each property individually, look at the feedback. A simple thing, for example, the exact same home across the road from each other, but exact same, built by the same builder, furnished the same way, landscaping the same, everything. One's got a south-facing backyard, one's got a north-facing backyard. They're going to get a different result. That's it, because people are going to look at it differently. So not all houses are the same. So anyway, the bottom line is we've seen some great success. We've seen some really good results. We now head into it this weekend with Easter. Happy Easter to everybody, and it'll be a great opportunity to enjoy some family time and get together. We've seen a bit of an outbreak of COVID again up in the northern state in Brisbane. They're going into lockdown tonight for 3 days, a hard lockdown. Hopefully we don't have to see that happen again in Melbourne. At this point in time, hopefully we all look forward to everybody being able to celebrate Easter with their families and spend a little bit of downtime. Our offices won't be open on Saturday. We're yet to make a decision whether we will run open homes on Saturday. We will probably open all of our properties twice this week during the week. And then we'll make a decision depending on buyer feedback and the numbers that we see, what we're going to do as it comes, but just check our websites. But other than that, I say, we're here, we're available, Andrew, and whatever people need, they just have to reach out.
Definitely, Jim. My bet is that our phones will still ring on Saturday, and we're still here to help. So regardless, everyone's going to be with their families and take a good 4-day off. I think either Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days, and which everyone deserves, of course. But again, if they need anything at all, just reach out. We've still got our mobile phones everywhere we go. So we're here to help, and we love it, right? So we've touched on that plenty of times before, and it's very enjoyable. But yes, we've got 4 days off potentially. But yes, it's been a very busy fortnight, Jim.
It has. And so let's do whatever we've got to do this week. And then we have a few days off, and then we're back into it again, and look forward to a strong April as well. Stay well, everyone.
Happy Easter, everyone, for this coming weekend, and we'll speak to you all next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andrew.
See you, Jim.
See you, everyone.